just want to thank everybody today. We've all had a good day. I was first, so obviously nerve-wracking. Now I'm last, nerve-wracking once again. But I just want to say a big thanks to everybody. So we can all have a big hand for everybody that's come out today. What I want to start with, I've met a lot of new people today, a lot of old faces, a lot of new faces. So again, LV, we are one big massive family, which then it can connect into the Ketel One vodka, because again, the No Left family, they discovered, or they pioneered first with Ketel One back in 1691. 100 years later, this is in Holland by the way, so 100 years later what they did is they actually built the windmill, or what it's now called the whale. And then I'm just going to skip through it to do the centuries, boom, 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 another 100 years past that. They started to export, they started to get into the exports, which they then took it over to the United States. They built a distillery over in Maryland. I've lived in America. I used to live in Virginia. I've been to Maryland. It's a beautiful a beautiful state even. Very, very picturesque during springtime and autumn, or as the Americans like to say, the fall. Okay, Americans don't say Maryland, they say Maryland. Okay. After this, I'm going to skip a little bit further into the future to around 2008. I'm going to skip the 79 because I don't think it's got anything. I'm just going to skip all of that. Back in 2008, obviously Ketel One's doing quite well. Diageo, big guys like, hey, there's an offer on the table, are you going to take it? I don't know if they said yes or no at the first one. I don't know how many offers they put down, but they finally said yes at 900 million. Is it dollars or euros or pounds? Sorry? Well, there you go, a bit more. So obviously they couldn't refuse the offer. Now with Ketel One, the vodka that I'm going today is obviously just the original Ketel One. Now Ketel meaning copper, or copper pot, is built in copper still pots. It's 100% wheat. There you go. It's 100% wheat that's made from, and it's 11 generations. So again, it's a family-owned company. Obviously, the Diageo, it's not really 50%, but 50% is family-owned. Again, like LV, it's a big family. Okay. Now let's get more into the cocktail side of things. Okay. Now what I've done here is I've washed the vodka with goose fat. I was originally going to do it with, as I said, whale blubber, but it was a bit hard to find. And obviously I didn't know what the notes were going to be like, obviously the flavouring too. So I was looking for duck fat, couldn't find it, but I found goose fat. And then a friend told me, well actually Holland is one of the #1 places in the world for producing geese and breeding geese. So I thought, well that's going to fit in quite well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 50 ml, let's give this a quick wash. This time I'm not shaking, which is amazing. Put that back in the kiln jar right over here. So, but just so you all know, this is the goose fat that I actually found and sourced. It's from St. John's Market in Liverpool. If you haven't been there, it's an absolute dive. Okay? But again, you go there for your meat, your fish, whatever you want, it's lovely. Your black Armanis, your black Versace's, whatever you want, you've got it. Okay? Now, in the vodka, we've got the honey notes, which I'm going to heighten with some Rouse, is it Rouse? Rouse, some Rouse honey. Again, 2 bar spoons if I can find the bar spoon. Roughly about 10 ml, I don't know what that is in grams. Now I've put this in first. I did it backwards before. I put the sage in first before I actually put the honey in. I want to actually dilute the honey and break it down to make it obviously not solidify in the drink. Put that back over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Grand Marnier, but it's in a Santa Teresa bottle. I'm hoping again for the best. I've had my old little licensee over here testing it and he says it's a-okay. So again, what I'm going to add to this, I'm going to add 10 ml of the Grand Marnier, which is just going to highlight the citrus notes and the orangey notes in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it Moroccan and south of Spain oranges that they use? Thank you very much. So we're going to add those into the drink. Now what I'm going to use sage. There's quite herbaceous notes within this vodka itself. I couldn't find out which notes they were, but I found that sage worked quite well. So I'm just going to clap those in. And then I'm going to add some ice. Can I get some proper cubed ice? Thank you. Sorry, my ice is a bit like crushed ice in here, so I'm not going to use it because I don't want to dilute the drink too much. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir. Back of the nets. So what I'm going to do now is as I said, I'm going to stir it to get to the right dilution. I'm going to try and pick the correct straw this time. Just a little bit more, still a bit strong. Now, as you can see in my presentation at the moment, you can see a bit of green. As I said, it's not that type of green. It's a bit of sage mixed with sugar. It's dried sage, blitzed up with a bit of sugar. So again, we don't have any right straws, but it's okay. Oh, here we go. As I was explaining before to you guys, and for the guys that didn't hear, if you actually, when I did my research, when you actually see the whale, which is the part of the distillery which obviously got built 100 years after it was discovered, there's a lot of greenery around the canal which it's actually sat on side of. Now, with the presentation, what I'm going to do... 2 minutes. Thank you very much. What I'm going to do is the greenery, obviously, it's going to express of obviously the surrounding areas of the whale. I've got a julep strainer or... the surrounding areas. My glass is going to represent the whale, and then in between, what you can see here is some homemade truffles that I made, and it's got the ingredients. Obviously, it's got the Grand Marnier in, it's got the honey in, but it's also, which I forgot to mention, it also has candied orange in there as well, which is blitzed up, so you get a bit of a crunchy texture to it. Now I'm going to triple strain this so I don't get all of the fatty textures within the glass. Now it's got a beautiful golden appearance to it. Now what I'm going to do, what I didn't mention before, obviously the garnish, I've actually got an orange twist which I express over the glass after I rim with some sage, and then I discard. Then I express it over the glass. Now what I was going to say before is obviously the whale is a windmill, which is what this drink's going to represent. The truffles here are going to represent the barge or the canal boats, whatever you want to call them. The greenery around it is obviously the surrounding areas, or if you want to go down the ways with the goose that laid the golden eggs. Okay. I've lost my pegs. Well, there's supposed to be a peg that goes on here. It's not a problem. It is a problem. So we're going to improvise, and we're just going to put it on the rest on the side. It is supposed to have a peg which goes on the side. Obviously, being a windmill, I did try to have it with all the 4 points. It didn't work. So obviously, I've got the one droopy one that's going off. Okay. So in all, what my cocktail represents and what it's called the honking whale, which represents the distillery, honking being the geese. Again, it's family orientated. If you want to look on that side, or the other flip side of it being family orientated, we have a Sunday roast, we have Christmas dinners. It's all a part of this season right now. It's very savoury. You have your dinner and then you have your dessert, and that's my presentation of the honking whale.